about Asian carp. We're going to give you an update on pork, and we're going to share a wonderful wild turkey recipe. Stay tuned. Good morning, and again, welcome to Michigan Farm and Garden. I want to make sure I give you guys a quick reminder this morning. Don't forget, coming up next weekend at Michigan State University is the Michigan Great Lakes International Draft Horse event. So if you get the opportunity, we had Aaron Rice on the show a few weeks ago. We talked about the event. It is certainly an international event, and it will be going on at Michigan State with everything from halter classes to the big hitch classes to plowing contests to obstacle courses. So make sure you get it on your calendar. It will be the 18th through the 21st, and get out to Michigan State and learn a little bit more about those gorgeous draft horses. Then tune in to Michigan Farm and Garden, and you'll actually be able to see a couple shows that we're going to tape right there on site during the event and activities. And for this morning's show, we have some more great information coming your way. We certainly want to make sure we get you up to speed and let you know what's going on here in our state. And my first guest this morning is Keith Reinholt. He is with the Michigan Soybean Promotion Committee, and we are going to talk about soybeans. We're going to talk about some of the changes, certainly some of the education, the technology, those kinds of things, and how that affects looking at viewers and also when we look at our consumers. Then my next topic is one of those we have yet to deal with, and I think today is the day. A lot of us have heard about Asian carp, and we're going to talk a little bit more about that. And with us, we have an expert from the Michigan Department of Natural Resources, and that is Todd Kalish. And he's going to tell us a little bit about what the challenges are, what we need to do to stay on top of it, and then we also have some pictures we're going to show you so you can do some identification. Then I have with me Mary Kelpinski from the Michigan Pork Producers, and we are going to celebrate the fact that October is Pork Month, and we're also going to talk about the so-called bacon shortage. So make sure you stay tuned, because that's information you're certainly going to want to know. And then we're going to wrap the show up with Mary Sowers, who is a sportswoman herself, and she has a wonderful wild turkey recipe for wild turkey piccata style. Folks, it is going to be a wonderful show. Stay tuned, and we'll be back with our first guest right after the Michigan Farm and Garden Fact of the Week.
It's time for the Michigan Farm and Garden Fact of the Week, brought to you by the Corn Marketing Program of Michigan.
Michigan soybeans. Soybeans have more than a $1.5 billion economic impact, resulting in nearly 7,000 jobs within the state. They are grown on more than 10,000 farms in more than half of Michigan's counties. Soybeans are used in candles, shampoos, makeup, lotions, chain oils, ink, lubricants, spray foam insulation, crayons, teddy bears, vegetable oil, and soy milk, just to name a few uses. For more information, go to michigansoybean.org.
Corn touches your life every day. With over 600 items in the store that contain corn, it's America's renewable resource. There are amazing new products made from corn, like comforters, clothes, corn stoves, dinnerware, and of course, ethanol.
Corn, America's renewable resource, powering industry, feeding America, and fueling the future.
Thanks to Michigan's corn farmers, the future is bright for innovative products made from corn. To learn more about how corn touches your life, visit our website.
And welcome back. We are back with Keith Reinholt of the Michigan Soybean Promotion Committee. Keith, welcome back.
Judy, thank you, and thanks for having me.
It's great to have you back, and you have a lot of new kinds of things to talk about this time, don't you?
Well, I've got a little slide that I might put up there that kind of addresses that which we face, being new products, new practices, new technologies. And this really is not unique to agriculture. I have other slides, but we'll kind of wait and put those up there. But as you know, new is for everybody, isn't it?
It is. It's for all the viewers, consumers, growers, and I'm going to have you kind of tell us how that relates to us as consumers and also to agriculture.
Okay, those watching who maybe are a generation or two removed from agriculture might not understand a relationship to agriculture that new technologies have, but certainly they can relate that whoever the spouse around the home is that has to buy a new washing machine or a new dryer, these are new technologies. How about phones? How about televisions? Trying to hook those up. So these new technologies are just in front of us every day. So how do we learn to adapt? How do we learn these new technologies? One way, I know there's a lot of the large box stores that put on seminars. That if you buy a new TV, this is how you hook it up. I know there's one of the manufacturers of washers and dryers that you actually go in and see the work done. So somehow we've become more important, or at least not more important, but it's easier to see it done, isn't it?
It is.
And so that's how I'm relating. So I think your viewers that don't particularly have an agricultural presence might understand why people would like to go to meetings. And we've got a few slides put up here that would show that, and it's no exception. I think the pictorial on the screen now shows roughly 200 farmers that say, I want to go to a meeting and I want to see something demonstrated. I want an expert to tell me that which needs to be done to adjust my machine properly, because these machines cost $250,000 or more and they need to be adjusted properly. So we've got a few other pictures that just shows new equipment and how equipment needs to be demonstrated. We need to have people with experts that can tell them. I think we have another slide that just shows a very similar picture. But one interesting thing about farmers is they're not afraid to share with their neighbors. Yes, they're in competition with their neighbor, but they're not afraid to share with them. So what I guess my point is here today is, how do we learn this? One thing, we had a meeting down in Hillsdale that some of these pictures showed, and we have another pictorial, I think, that shows people, well, you got to eat, right?
Oh,
you got to eat. Oh, you got to eat. So, but these, at the same time, we put seminars on. And we tell people what they can go see. We have another picture, I think, that actually shows equipment in the field. So we demonstrate this equipment, because how better to learn than go out and see it done? I think another picture we have really shows a picture of, now these are combines, and for those who are somewhat removed from production agriculture, maybe don't know what a combine is, but a combine is really a machine that takes the grain out of the husk, grain out of the pods, and that's what combines do. But these are highly technical, and you have to adjust these in certain ways. So what we've done, the last picture showed combines going across the field. I think another picture we have will in fact show we run these combines for a distance, then we stop, then we have experts that get out and talk about their machine. How do you set that machine? The picture they're looking at right now, there's what we call a reel. And you can set those reels so they go higher or lower. You can further in front of the combine or back. How do you adjust those combines? And these are experts telling. I think we have another picture that shows something very similar. How do you adjust those machines so that there's less loss, the least loss possible? So what we're trying to do is put these meetings on, have people learn by showing them. I think maybe the last picture we have up there is one that, a beautiful picture. And does this not say, and my bias is going to come out, I love American agriculture, and I think you do too. And how better to do this in a picture like this with American flag showing, with the opportunity for people to stand in line and learn about new products and new technologies. So this is done in different ways. Not that growers don't go online, not that they don't get a computer disk to learn how to do something, but there's just something about going to a meeting and seeing it done. So technologies are rampant out there. How do we learn these things?
Well, and I like how we started it looking at what consumers do too, because I think we all do that same thing. You know, I have a camera I like, and I had 3 friends that have kids that said, what camera did you get? We like your pictures. And it's that same kind of thing. What equipment? And, you know, when we looked at the combines, there were several different colors. Yes. And there are growers that tend to be partial to one color or one brand over another.
And a combine is not a combine. A planter is not a planter. You know, a tractor is not a tractor. There's uniqueness to those. And the purpose of meetings like this is not to demonstrate and show that one combine is better than another. That's not the purpose. The purpose is, if you have a green combine, you have a red combine, how do you set it to get maximum production out of that for the most profitability per acre? And that one picture showed where else but in America. Could we have engineers that would engineer these type of things, farmers that want to be educated, And you know, as you know, one farmer produces enough food for 155 people in this day and age. And I think America leads the way. So my prejudice shows, but
It's good.
I'm proud of that.
I'm right there. I'm right behind you. Good job, Keith.
All right.
We appreciate it.
Thanks,
Very
Jody.
well done.
All right.
Folks, certainly Keith hit several of those important points. When we think of agriculture, we know there's always new technology, lots of changes going on, and we are very excited to be here in Michigan where we have cutting-edge growers out there learning all they can to make sure that they're having the best soybean and other crops they can, and they're competing in a global marketplace. Stay tuned. We'll be back right after this message.
The Cherry Marketing Institute wants you to know about tart cherries. Cherry's red color comes from powerful antioxidants. Available year-round, it's easy to incorporate cherries into your daily diet. Visit choosecherries.com.
Michigan's 1,000 apple growers take pride in producing delicious apples from one generation to the next. From the Great Lakes come great flavors. Look for locally grown Michigan apples.
Have Jody speak at your next agricultural event. Go to jodylive.com.
And welcome back. We are back with Todd Kalish. Todd is with the Michigan Department of Natural Resources. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
It's great to have you here, and you know, we're talking about different things that are going on in our state, and one of those challenges has certainly been Asian carp.
Right, you hit the nail on the head. It's definitely a challenge, and one of the greatest assets that we have in Michigan is a healthy aquatic ecosystem, a healthy Great Lakes aquatic ecosystem, and that aquatic ecosystem contributes to a variety of economic aspects and community vitality aspects throughout the Great Lakes, and one of them is the Great Lakes fishery. And the Great Lakes fishery contributes to approximately $7 billion worth of economic profit within the Great Lakes region. And if Asian carp become established within the Great Lakes region, irreparable damage to the aquatic ecosystem can occur, and that could affect commercial fisheries, sport fisheries, tribal fisheries, and ultimately local and regional economies.
Well, and when we look at that, I mean, I think one of the questions is how did they get here? And I guess how here are they, you know? Right,
and that's a great question. And as with any story, any initiative like this or any issue like this, there's always a story. And the Asian carp story began in the 1970s. So Asian carp were introduced into the United States in the 1970s. They were brought into southern states primarily to help control vegetation within aquaculture ponds. So aquaculture growers would bring Asian carp into their ponds, and they would feed on algae, so they would clean the ponds. And so they were brought in the 70s, and they were introduced primarily into the Mississippi River drainage through the great floods that we had in the Mississippi River in the 1990s. And ever since the 90s, they've been working their way up the Mississippi River drainage, and now, as you know, they're on the doorstep of the Great Lakes.
Well, and certainly when we look at things like that, I know you brought some pictures because I want to make sure we talk a little bit about that biology and about the fish.
You bet, you bet. And I think the first picture we have up there that's a grass carp. And when we talk about Asian carp is a general term, and Asian carp actually refers to many different species of carp. So the first picture we have is of a grass carp. And grass carp don't have a different impact on aquatic ecosystems than bighead and silver. Bighead and silver are the two carp species that we typically think of when we talk about the negative impacts of Asian carp. The picture that we just saw was grass carp. They feed primarily on vegetation, and those species are actually legal to stock in certain ponds in other states, Ohio and Indiana, to control aquatic vegetation. I think we have pictures of other Asian carp species, silver carp and bighead. So the picture you see on the screen right now, the uppermost picture is that of a silver carp, and the lower is a bighead carp. And silver and bighead carp, they have voracious appetites. Silver carp and bighead carp silver carp can get to be about 60 pounds, and bighead carp can get to be about 100 pounds.
Wow.
And both of those species, they don't have true stomachs, so they have to feed almost continuously, and both of those species can consume up to 40% of their body weight in one day.
Wow.
Yeah, and what they're eating primarily are really tiny aquatic organisms in the water called phytoplankton and zooplankton. And phytoplankton and zooplankton make up the base of our food chain in our Great Lakes aquatic ecosystem. So when these species, since they feed so voraciously, they can have really significant impacts on all the species that rely on the base of that food chain, phytoplankton and zooplankton.
Wow, very scary when we think about the ramifications and what they could do. And I know you brought a couple other pictures with you. We'll take a look at those, and you can kind of tell us a little bit more.
Yeah, and the picture that you're seeing on the screen now, that's a picture of the big head carp. And the big head carp, this is the big one. So this is the carp that can grow up to 100 pounds and eat approximately 40% of its body weight in one day. The other interesting characteristic of this species is that this species can spawn up to 3 times a year. So they can reproduce up to 3 separate times a year. And a large female can produce upwards of 1 million eggs during each spawning event. So they're very, very prolific, and that's one of the other negative aspects of these species, is that they can reproduce in such large numbers that they can negatively compete with our native species that we have in the Great Lakes.
Very challenging and very scary as you kind of lay some of those numbers out. And I think we have one more that you brought.
Yeah. And the last picture that we're seeing, that's a picture of a silver carp, and this is the infamous carp that many people have seen videos of jumping out of the water.
Okay.
Silver carp are the jumpers, so they can reach approximately 60 pounds, and they can get to be about 3 feet in length. But these fish have a very sensitive system where they're very sensitive to vibration in the water. So as boats go by, they have a tendency to jump out of the water, and these fish can actually harm boaters as they're going by. They can harm jet skiers as they're going by in rivers. So these are the infamous ones that many people have seen on YouTube and various other places that jump out of the water.
Well, and I guess as we talk about these, and we certainly know there's challenges, and I think you hit those really well as to what that could do to some of our lakes. Where are we at? I know you guys look at testing and to see, what is it that we can do and where are we at with their invasion?
Yeah, and so the primary area that we're concerned with in terms of our effort to prevent Asian carp from establishing populations in the Great Lakes is the Chicago Sanitary and Ship Canal. That's the greatest concern in terms of making sure that those fish don't get into the Great Lakes. So we're concentrating our effort there. And we actually are concentrating on other areas as well, other areas of potential points of entry, places like Lake Erie and various river waterways. And the Asian Carp Initiative is a very collaborative effort. There's actually a committee that has been formed to assure that we assess water bodies throughout the Great Lakes for points of entry, so that we're constantly on top of this issue, and we make sure that we know where the fish are, we know all the points of entry, and we address them. We address those points of entry as appropriate.
Well, Todd, we always run out of time way too fast. I so appreciate it. And I know we got to see the pictures of the fish, and I would say we want to make sure people are on the lookout and they're being engaged and they're doing what they can to help us with this issue.
Yeah, we definitely want to make sure people are engaged on the issue. We actually have a website. It's www.michigan.gov/Asian Carp. And we also have a phone number, 517-373-1280. So if people see anything out of the ordinary, if they catch a fish and they think it's an Asian carp, or if they see a fish in their minnow bucket that just doesn't look quite right, call those numbers, let fisheries biologists know, and we'll look into it.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Just a little bit more information, folks, when you're out there, be on the alert and be looking for those Asian carp.
This chicken is beak over claw for meal made from U.S. soybeans. Now, one chicken may not be too much to cluck about, but suppose we add another, and another, and another. Before long, you've got billions of hungry customers around the world all clamoring for the same thing, our soybeans. Learn more about the billion-dollar appetite of animal agriculture at BeyondTheElevator.com. Brought to you by America's soybean farmers and their checkoff.
And welcome back. We are back with Mary Kelpinski of the Michigan Pork Producers. Mary, welcome back. It's good to have you.
Well, thanks. Thanks for having me back.
as we sit here, we certainly have a lot we need to talk about, but I have to tell you, I've heard about a bacon shortage.
I know, it's scary.
It is. So I thought, you know what, we're going to go right to the source, someone in the industry that knows, because people have said, did you hear about that bacon shortage?
It's all everybody keeps asking me is about this bacon shortage, and it's hilarious. I mean, it really is an attention getter. You know, people think about standing in line for their bacon or not being able to have their bacon on their burger, and that's not going to happen. I think what we're going to see is some higher prices when people go to buy bacon or pork or any of their meats or any food really next year. We had a drought. You know, it was a fact that this summer was very dry, and so now we're going to see the impact of it. A lot of the producers are starting to, cut down on the number of pigs that they have born, the number of pigs that they raise. And so it's just getting into the channels now. We're seeing a lot of pigs go to market right now that normally would be kept for breeding. And so in the next 6 months or so, we'll probably see higher prices in the meat case because of that. There's fewer and fewer pigs that are being finished out.
Well, and it does make sense, especially when you look at higher input costs. And I mean, you nailed it, drought. Yeah. There are other things that are going to happen as a result.
Exactly. And it's not only going to be your meat. You know, I was listening to a funny story when they were talking about, well, we'll have to, eat different foods then and cut down on our meat. But it's going to be all the foods that you get are all going to be impacted one way or another because of this drought. So, some of the implications take a little longer. We're just getting through the corn harvest right now, so we don't know how much carryover there's going to be. So next year we'll have a shorter corn supply, and hopefully we'll be able to find enough corn and soybeans to actually feed the pigs. And we might have to look at some alternative sources of feed.
I'm thinking wheat would really be a good option.
Wheat might be, we might be using more wheat as a feed source for livestock. So
there we go. And for you guys, October is pork month.
Yeah.
So we hear about the bacon shortage, but it's also time to celebrate.
Exactly. It's traditionally October is when we've always had a lot of pork that comes into the channels. The pork industry has changed a lot. Keith was talking about some of the changes in the soybean industry, and we have seen a lot of changes in agriculture. And one of the changes is, pork's not at the seasonal product that it used to be. But traditionally, a lot of hogs would come to market in October, so there would be a bigger supply of pork. And so we, decided it was a good time to really promote pork. And so there's where October Pork Month came from. But it kind of fits in with this bacon shortage because, because of the drought and everything, more pigs are going to market now than traditionally have the last few years. So we are seeing a lot of pork on the market right now. It's a good time to celebrate. The pork industry has changed so much over the years. The pigs today are so much leaner than they were before. It's a much different product than it used to be just 20 years ago. We were talking earlier, just the two of us, about not overcooking your pork, because today's pork is so safe and so lean. We don't want to overcook it. A lot of people tend to overcook pork, and USDA came out with new cooking recommendations, recommending that people only cook their pork to an internal temperature of 145 degrees, then take it out of the oven and let it rest for 3 minutes, and it's completely safe, and it can be pink in the middle and be nice and juicy and tender.
Well, and I think you know where folks can get a meat thermometer.
I do. We actually have a Facebook page, Michigan Pork Producers Association. It's on Facebook, so if you look us up and find us and send us a message via Facebook, we will send everybody a meat thermometer so that they can instantly check their pork and make sure that they're not overcooking it.
Well, and I think that's so important to know, how to cook it, but especially now is also a good time with, pigs going to market to watch for those sales, get that meat, fill up those freezers. We can be proactive, as we know things could change next year.
Exactly. My freezer is full right now with lots of bacon and ham and a lot of brats too.
There's always good.
Exactly.
So many opportunities. Well, and I guess, Mary, as you kind of look ahead, we have October's Pork Month. We talked about kind of looking at that freezer. Anything else you want us to visit your Facebook page that we need to be looking out for to kind of help with that celebration?
Oh, well, we've got lots of recipes that are available both on our Facebook page. We have Bacon Wednesdays, so every Wednesday we have a new bacon recipe on our Facebook page. And they can always visit our website, mipork.org, and we've got lots of recipes with and without bacon. So, it's a good time in the fall to make a good pork roast and enjoy pork.
We were just talking about that. I have one in the crock pot right now. So see, there we go. I did. Well, Mary,
Definitely.
thank you so much. We appreciate it.
Thanks.
We certainly want to be part of that celebration, and we appreciate, again, on behalf of our state, all that the growers do, and we look forward to that pork.
Well, thank you. Fill it up now.
go. Folks, a little bit more information. We certainly know how important agriculture is to our state. You heard Mary say it is October is Pork Month. Get out there, celebrate, fill that freezer, and get ready. And when you hear people talk about the bacon shortage, you can now set them straight. Stay tuned. We'll be back right after this message.
Love. It's a passion. The horse gets in your soul.
It's awesome to sit in there and watch all the 8-horse and 6-horse hitches go around the arena.
We have some of the greatest horses that can be found on the continent.
Michigan Great Lakes is probably the #1 show to come to.
It's one of the biggest and best shows in the United States.
This is a premier event for seeing draft horses here in the state of Michigan. That's why I'm here.
We just keep coming back because it's a vacation for us.
It's the highlight of the draft horse industry.
And welcome back. We're back with Mary Sowers. Mary, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
It's good to have you here. And I have to say, we've had you on before, and we got to talking, and you said, oh, you are a sportswoman enthusiast, and you had recipes. So here you are, and it looks absolutely wonderful.
Well, let me tell you about this recipe. My family are turkey hunters, wild turkey hunters. And anyone who has had a wild turkey knows that sometimes they can be a little tough, they can be a little stringy. It's not like going to get one of the infused turkeys that you buy out of the grocery store. So what I have done is I have modified a piccata recipe for wild turkey. And what you do is you take the turkey breast and fillet it, so it's only about a ½ inch thick. And then once you have it all filleted, you pound it down, so it's a ¼ inch thick.
Okay.
So that's how you start with the turkey to get it nice and thin. And then you dip it in egg and milk, and then in some seasoned breadcrumbs, and fry it up. Also, there's some mushrooms and some onions, and I like lemon zest. In fact, I always put a little bit more lemon in there, and every time I make it, my husband teases me. He says it's getting more lemony all the time. So that's the recipe for the turkey. And then another dish we found, I have a fresh herb garden, and I love to cook with fresh herbs. And this is just a white rice prepared as directed. And I just squeeze lemon juice over the top, and then chop up some fresh cilantro and put it in the rice. You can do the same thing with even fresh dill. It's wonderful in rice.
Well, and I think, that's sometimes you just need to have the things on hand, especially if you're looking at the herbs, those kinds of, if you can grow your own. We've had Bridget Behe on, and we've talked about how you can set your own up in the window ledge. And, if you have those things, it is so much easier to put those into dishes, and it looks absolutely great. And before we started, everybody was looking at it and checking it out.
They were checking out. They said they couldn't wait till the show was over. They all wanted to sample, so I'm sure they will. But again, I come from a sporting background. My grandparents and my father and aunt and uncle, and we hunt, we fish. My husband loves duck hunting. It's duck hunting season right now, and that's kind of where I draw the line, Getting up at 4 o'clock in the morning and putting on waders to trudge in the mud for ducks. I'll cook them, but I'm not a duck hunter. But we do enjoy the outdoors at our home.
Well, and I think it's so nice, too, when you can incorporate them, especially into really easy, nice recipes that you can make like this. And, folks, if you want to try this, as always, you can visit us online at MichiganFarmandGarden.com or write to Michigan Farm and Garden Recipes, P.O. Box 461, Williamston, Michigan 48895. And if you just want 1 week, send me a self-addressed stamped envelope, and I will send it out to you, and we'll make sure we share these recipes, because there's nothing like doing the hunting and then having a great recipe to go home and fix it.
I agree, 100%.
Well, Mary, we so appreciate it. Thank you so much for doing the show.
You're very welcome, very welcome.
And keep going out there, keep doing the hunting, and you can keep coming and bringing me more recipes.
Well, hey, just invite me, I'll be back.
There you go. Folks, we hope you have an absolutely wonderful week. Remember, get out there, experience Michigan, experience the great outdoors, visit us online, and we will have these wonderful recipes to share with you. Have a great week, and hopefully I will see you at the Michigan Great Lakes International Draft Horse Show at Michigan State University. See you next week. Bye-bye.